All right, welcome in everyone to another Veteran Awareness Project workshop. We will be going over the CFR today. So the Code of Federal Regulations is what we'll be going over today. This is basically the information that you need in order to be aware of where your disability ratings are, what they can be, what they can be reduced to, what they can be increased to. Announcements to start off is basically let's make sure we do have our website. It's up and running. Veteran aware, vet aware. I can't even talk right now. Vetawarenessproject.com. You'll see the website and the link throughout everywhere. Basically, if you have any questions when it comes to becoming 100% PNT or trying to get to 100% PNT or just in general trying to upgrade or increase your rating, this is going to be the tutorial that basically allows you to understand where it is that VA raters get their assignments from, where they get their information from, what it is that they use as the criteria to rate you at the rating that you get. Some people think that there's a lot of misconceptions, I would say, and I think that is one of the main things that needs to be fixed when it comes to veterans and the schedule of ratings. Not everybody receives the same ratings, not everybody goes through the same things, not everybody has the same issues, has the same ailments, has the same disabilities. So this is going to be a workshop basically to try to make sure that people understand that hey, you do have ratings. There is a regulation. Most veterans do not know that there's a regulation, and they are surprised when they only get a specific percentage on a disability. So, for some cases, veterans don't understand that you do not always get 100% for each rating. Some ratings give you 100% or have the ability to get you 100%. Some ratings do not go that high. Some ratings just go to 20%. Some go to 30, some 40, 50. So it's making a differentiating the ability to know, hey, if I'm filing for this disability claim, what can I receive or what will I receive? It's learning to understand that because then it's also easier for you to understand moving forward as to, hey, how do I increase my disability rating? Can I increase my disability rating? So it's not that you're trying to file a disability claim and then all of a sudden it's denied or you stay at the same spot. Because sometimes people see that as a waste of time. So in order to avoid that waste of time, you want to make sure it's like, hey, what is going on? What are you doing? What are you learning? What are you gaining from this? A lot of people are tuned in and hey, you may know a veteran, you may be close to a veteran, you may be a family member of a veteran, and some of this information to that veteran is new. They have no idea about it. They may not want to file a disability claim. They may think, you know what, it's a handout, I don't need it. In the cases of that, you have to remember that for veterans, filing disability claims does not mean you are taking a handout. It does not mean you are weak. This is something that you earned through serving this country. These are benefits that were given to you because of the fact that you decided to swear an oath and you took that oath, you served your time, you did it honorably, and now you have benefits for that. Only 1% of people in this country decide, you know what, I'm going to serve this country. That's their way. I guess it's a way of saying this is the way that the US decides to say, you know what, we want to take care of veterans for doing that because not everybody decides to join. So, this is basically a way of showing, because remember, disability compensation is only a small part of what the VA offers. It's a major part because it's tax-free compensation. And that's what a lot of veterans get excited about. That's what dependents get excited about. But what people need to understand is that these benefits go further than just the monetary compensation. You have schooling, you have housing, you have employment, you have all different sorts of things that are afforded to veterans because of your time in service. So it's just making sure that when you are filing for a disability claim, you understand what it is you're filing for. Because some people think, hey, I got pain, I'm in pain, I'm gonna get 100%. And I'm sorry to say that's not how it works. It will never work that way. Not everybody has the same pain levels. Not everybody goes through the same issues. So that's something that you need to realize and understand that I can have the same injury you can, but the way I react to it is not the same way you react to it. I may be I may not have much pain or have a high pain tolerance where I can have the same injury. It could be like, let's say, a dislocated shoulder. You may be in pain more because you're more used to it, or I may be more used to it and it doesn't affect me. I go to a CMP exam, my my answers and the way I react to it may not be the same as somebody else that is in constant pain over something. But that's something that going through the CFR explains. Pain is something that's there. Everybody goes through pain. If you're filing for a disability claim, chances are you're dealing with something painful. Something's bothering you. Something is not allowing you to be the normal self or the person that you're used to being. What you need to keep in mind is that everybody goes through it. A lot of these things are presumptive. Basically, the military knows we fucked you up. We know this. We're not gonna say no, but we need to tie it to what it is you're dealing with. So let's get into the CFR. So Code of Federal Regulations. If you don't know, if you've never been to the site, it is www.ecfr.gov. So we'll just go, I just have it bookmarked on my page for the regular one, so we'll just start from the beginning. So basically, Code of Federal Regulations, this is what pops up. As you can see, there's titles 1 through 50. Goes over financial assistance, the president, accounts, administrative personnel, domestic security, customs and duties, alcohol, tobacco products, and firearms. It goes over public health, protection of environment, federal acquisition regulation systems. Like these are all the things that basically our government uses as a regulation. If you were in service, you already understand how regulations work. You got your 670-1, which is basically covers most of the stuff, but then you had like the DA PAM, which was different to more further explain these things. With the Code of Federal Regulations, there is no DA PAM. This is here's a regulation, you read it, you understand it, you get the information from it, and you use it that way. If you're not doing so, that's when you run into some problems sometimes when it comes to that, because of the fact that it's just like, hey, this is the regulation, this is the stuff. So what you're gonna do is once you're at the website, you go to Title 38. Title 38 will show pensions, bonuses, and veterans relief. So when you click on that, now it brings it over to different ones. Basically, this covers most of veterans information. So what it has to do with Veterans Affairs, it will direct you to this, and you see Title 38, pensions, bonuses, and veterans relief. Chapter 1, Chapter 2. Armed Forces Retirement Home is part of Chapter 2. And then compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act, different acts, and then basically those are connected. What we're going to do is we're going to Chapter 1. Chapter 1, as you can see, if I can find my mouse, there it goes. It breaks it down into different parts. So you have part 0 through 80. What we are concerned with as veterans when it comes to figuring out what our disability rating is part 4. So part 4 is schedule of ratings, schedule for rating disabilities. So this is basically this is subpart A, subpart B, which is the disability ratings, table of amendments and effective dates since 1946. That is an important aspect for veterans to pay attention to, because this is the part where it shows you the amendments and the changes. So when the digestive system got an update in May of this past year, it basically showed you, hey, this section was updated on this day. It was amended on this day, which changed the IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. It changed GERD. It changed the ratings for that and other things within the CFR. So that's something to just pay attention to. If you don't know what has changed or you want to know what recently changed, this is where you will look into it. But what we're going to do is we just click on part 4. Part 4 schedule for rating disabilities it's plain and simple. It tells you what it is and it breaks it down. So when you have these sections, you have subpart A, which is general policy and rating. This goes over, as you can see, it's different ones. It goes 4.1, and let me see what the end is. It doesn't even, I'm not sure what the because it has the appendixes, which has everything numerated as to what it is. One of the things that veterans need to understand is that most people try to file disability claims for usually the same claims. On one of our workshops a couple of weeks ago, we went over the top 10 disabilities that have been claimed or are always claimed by veterans. That includes tinnitus, hearing loss, usually is musculoskeletal, where it's a lumbar issue, cervical issue, knee issue, ankle issue, hip issues, mental health ratings, which remember mental health, and that we'll explain that a little bit later. The mental health ratings all get combined. So you do not get separate ones. So if you are dealing with anxiety, you are dealing with depression, you are dealing with PTSD, you are dealing with insomnia, you are dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder, those all get rated into one rating. Now, keep in mind that in August, there is a final action date, which may change the Code of Federal Regulations for that particular section. The same thing may happen for sleep apnea, which is part of the respiratory issues, and tinnitus, which is part of the auditory acuity. I can never say that right. Auditory acuity section, which may be updated. We are still waiting. All three of those different sections have been in talks for the past 2 years, to going on 3 years. In March next month, well, at the beginning in about a week, it's about 3 years since they started this process of changing it. So this is something that people need to pay attention to, because we've been talking about this for some time. You've had people talking about it, gaslighting, fear mongering for veterans to be like, hey, this is going to change, this is going to change. It's not set in stone. When you look at the CFR, as you see at the top, it'll say displaying Title 38, up to date as of February 20, 2025. Title 38 was last amended February 11th, 2025. So it gives you the date of the last time something was changed. So when something is changed, then you're notified and it's just like, okay, there was a change. That's when you would go back and change and see what the amendment was, to see what it was that was changed. Sometimes it can be a simple amendment of, hey, this disability code is no longer going to be used. So it becomes either reserved or it just gets deleted, meaning that sometimes some disabilities are joined up and it falls under the criteria of another section, or it's just like, this isn't something we're going to be covering anymore. So that's something that's always good to pay attention to when it comes to it. General policy, it basically goes over a lot of questions, the minimal questions and the major questions that most veterans have, that most veterans don't know to ask. Some of them are answered right here at the beginning, because it goes through essentials of evaluating rating, interpretation of examination reports, resolution of reasonable doubt, evaluation of evidence, which is important, which this one we'll read, and it's just the element of the weight to be accorded the character of the veteran service is but one factor entering the considerations of the rating boards in arriving at determinations of the evaluation of disability. Every element in any way affecting the probative value to be assigned to the evidence in each individual claim must be thoroughly and conscientiously studied by each member of the rating board in the light of the established policies of the Department of Veteran Affairs, to the end that decisions will be equitable and just as contemplated by the requirements of the law. Basically saying that, hey, we are going to afford everybody the same evaluation of evidence. Now, we do have issues with that because sometimes VA raters overlook stuff, sometimes they miss stuff, but then it's also sometimes veterans forget to put stuff in there, or sometimes veterans forget to single stuff out to showcase it for that. That's something that when it comes to filing your disability claim, you got to make sure you're doing the adequate job of placing the information that you need in there and making sure it's highlighted so that somebody knows what you're talking about. Like I always like to tell veterans, if you cannot hand your disability claim to a random individual and they cannot tell you what's wrong with you, that means that it's not as simple for a VA rater to identify what is wrong with you. Even though the VA rater knows why you're submitting that claim, they need to be able to see your packet or see your claim and be like, you know what? Evidence, statements, nexus letter, DBQs, whatever it is, documentation that you have, it has to be thorough enough for you to be passing it on to the VA rater, them seeing it, acknowledging it, and then they can make a decision. So and evaluating the evidence in the correct manner. If you're all over the place, have documents here, documents there, nothing is singled out, you're just making it harder for yourself. And the thing is you're not making it any easier for a VA rater to say, well, yeah, this is correct. This guy's rating is supposed to be here, or this guy's rating is supposed to be this rating. If you don't put that into perspective, you're going to be in there for the long run, because it could be that you had everything possible, but when you submitted it to the VA rater noticed it here when he hit that control F and he couldn't find that document because it was a picture and it couldn't find it. You just missed out on something, even though it was in your record. Now you're going through the appeals process. Appeals process is a whole nother story, and right now the appeals is on a 2-year backlog. Sounds good for back pay. Don't get me wrong, 2 years of back pay is always great. But at the same time, if you're waiting 2 years and then you didn't do your due diligence and you didn't do it correctly and then you still get denied, you just waited 2 years to get something fixed that you didn't fix. So avoid that issue. Higher of two evaluations. Where there is a question as to which of the two evaluations shall be applied, the higher evaluation will be assigned if the disability picture more nearly approximates the criteria required for that rating. Otherwise, the lower rating will be assigned. In those cases, this is where you explain mental health. So mental health, you will have all these issues. You will get the higher rating depending on what affects you and how badly it affects you with the mental health ratings. Remember, it goes 0 through 100%. That one is one of the ones that does get you to 100%. But depending on what it is you're claiming and what it is and how it affects you, that's how you get the rating. Because like I said, you have anxiety, depression, and PTSD. You may have PTSD, but that may not be the one that socially impairs you the most. It may not be that physically impairs you the most. It might be your anxiety. So what's going to happen? The anxiety is going to take part and they're going to put, oh, anxiety 70%. And then some people start wondering, it's just like, I got PTSD. Why isn't that the highest rating? Well, from your evaluation and your documentation or DBQs or your therapist's records or your mental health records, it shows that your anxiety is the one that's causing the bigger issues. So that's going to take that higher percentage and that's what's going to be put on there. Otherwise, whichever one it is, that's how it differentiates it. So that's something that people need to understand. Mental health is a different one. Just because you have all these mental health issues, I know it sucks. It sucks to go through it, and we need to get better at that, and we need to assist and get help for it. But you're only going to get one rating because they combine all of it. Now, like I said, keep in mind the CFR is planning to be changed, or final action date has been placed for August of this year to either update it, leave it the same, or at least give a notification of what may be going on. So keep that in mind when it comes to mental health stuff. Effective change of diagnosis, avoiding pyramiding, which is one of the big things. The evaluation of the same disability under various diagnoses is to be avoided. Disability from injuries to the muscles, nerves, and joints of an extremity may overlap to a great extent, so that special rules are included in the appropriate bodily system for their evaluation. Dyspnea, tachycardia, nervousness, fatigability, etc. may result from many causes. Some may be service-connected, others not. Both the use of manifestations not resulting from service-connected disease or injury in establishing the service-connected evaluation and evaluation of the same manifestation under different diagnoses are to be avoided. So this is basically trying to tell veterans, hey, I know you have this, but different sections of your body are causing the same thing. It is not going to be put on top of each other to get your rating higher. So basically, they are going to evaluate it off of one section. So if you got shoulder injuries and it's there, hey, good afternoon, Annette. If you have these issues there, that's what's going to happen. So it's going to be your shoulder. It's going to be evaluated in that manner for your shoulder. You may be having the same kind of pain or the same kind of stuff on your leg, but those are two different things. So they're not going to put all that together. It's going to be, oh, this, but at the same time, when we go through the CFR, we'll see how you get rated on these things. So it's not an automatic that you're receiving these things. So keep that in mind. Total disability ratings for compensation based on employability of the individual. So this part is important because this is the TDIU part. Temporary total disability ratings for unemployability. So TDIU, which is one of the 4 different ways you can get to 100%. With TDIU is one of the ones that you basically get the same benefits, but you are at 100%. You're getting paid at the 100%, even though you do not have 100%. So clarifying that. It is basically, we'll read it over, but it's you having a disability that doesn't allow you to gain or hold employment. So it's so severe to the point where that one disability gets you to that point where you can't work. So you are going to get compensated at the 100% mark. And the breakdown information for this one is total disability ratings for compensation may be assigned where the scheduler rating is less than total. When the disabled person is, in the judgment of the rating agency, unable to secure or follow a substantially gainful occupation as a result of service connected disabilities, provided that, this is the important part, that if there is only one such disability, this disability shall be rateable at 60% or more. And that if there are 2 or more disabilities, there shall be at least one disability rateable at 40% or more, and sufficient additional disability to bring the combined rating to 70% or more. Let's go over that again. Should be one rating that is at least 60% or more. So in the cases of having a mental health issue where you are at 70%, that would get you there. 60%, there's some ratings that leave you at 60%. It's not many that will give you just a 60%, but rateable at 60% or more. Then, if there are more than 2 or more disabilities, one has to be at least rateable at the 40% with the 60, or sufficient enough disability to bring it combined to 70% or more. For the above purpose of one 60% disability or one 40% disability in combination, the following will be considered as one disability. Disabilities of one or both upper extremities or of one or both lower extremities, including the bilateral factor, if applicable. Disabilities resulting from common etiology or a single accident. Disabilities affecting a single body system, orthopedic, digestive, respiratory, cardiovascular, renal, neuropsychiatric. Multiple injuries incurred in action, or multiple disabilities incurred as a prisoner of war. It is provided further that the existence or degree of non-service connected disabilities or previous unemployability status will be disregarded, where the percentages referred to this in this paragraph for the service-connected disability or disabilities are met, and in the judgment of the rating agency, such service-connected disabilities render the veteran unemployable. So remember, just because you had something previously doesn't mean that they're going to go ahead and say, you know what, he was already unemployable. No, they are going to go through the CFR. The CFR is going to do the explanation of, do you fit that criteria? For purposes of this section, marginal unemployment generally shall be deemed to exist when a veteran's earned annual income does not exceed the amount established by the U.S. Department of Commerce, Bureau of the Census, as the poverty threshold for one purpose. For one person. The poverty threshold right now sits about 15,000, like 300 something. So that is the poverty threshold. So basically, if you do fall under the TDIU, you would only be able to make up to the poverty line. So basically, they're saying that if you cannot make past that, you can be unemployable. But if you go past that amount, that means that you are able to gain employment and earn a different amount. Mind you, remember, you are still receiving 100% disability compensation, which is tax-free, on top of what you do. So that's why most people, when it comes to TDIU and P&T, permanent and total, people want to go the permanent and total route because of the fact that they can work and there's no limit to how much they earn. If you are TDIU, the limit is the poverty line. So that's the two differences. Whereas a lot of veterans, what they try to do is they try to reach to get that 100% P&T because that establishes it and gives you the opportunity to get other benefits. But then also, you don't have an income limit if you decide to also work with your disabilities. If you file under TDIU and receive TDIU, you have to stay under 15,000, under that 15,000 mark. If you don't, they can go and decide, you know what? You are disabled, but you are employable. So you may have a reduction in your rating where you are no longer TDIU 100%. You may just fall back to whatever percentage rating you actually have for that disability. So that's why it's important that, hey, if you are able to file to get to 100% P&T, fight for that, work towards that. If you are not, the route to best go is the TDIU route, which sometimes can be a bit more difficult in understanding and obtaining. But if you cannot get that 100% P&T, that is a route to get to 100% disability compensation. Marginal employment may also be held to exist on a fact-bound basis. It includes, but is not limited to, employment in a protected environment, such as a family, business, or sheltered workshop. When earned annual income exceeds the poverty threshold, consideration shall be given in all claims to the nature of the employment and the reason for termination. So, this is basically when they say the protected environment. When it comes to TDIU, it's basically you are unemployable for a certain reason. If you are in a protected environment like a family business, that means like, hey, you work with the family. So it's not like the family's gonna say you have to show up to work when you have a prostrating migraine or your back is having issues and is having a flare up. You don't have to show up. Stuff like that, that's what they mean in a protected environment. Because, yes, there is the Disabilities Act, which basically gives veterans and people with disabilities some coverage where you get specific assistance or specific, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but basically you get certain, I wouldn't say advantages because it's not advantages, but it's something that's given to you because of the fact that they know that you are disabled and you may have issues that hinder you from being able to work. So those are the things that people need to pay attention to when it comes to that. And then it continues, it is the established policy of the Department of Veteran Affairs that all veterans who are unable to secure and follow a substantial gainful occupation by reason of service-connected disability shall be rated totally disabled. Therefore, rating boards should submit to the Director, Compensation Service, for extra scheduler consideration all cases of veterans who are unemployable by reason of service-connected disabilities, but who fail to meet the percentages standards set forth in paragraph A of this section. The rating board will include a full statement as to the veteran's service-connected disabilities, employment history, educational and vocational attainment, and all the factors having a bearing on the issue. So that's just basically keep in mind. These are things there. Also, if you're tuning in, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to share this information, get it out to more veterans because a lot of veterans don't go through this and they don't know what this form is. They don't know what the CFR is. And this helps a lot of veterans when it comes to filing their disability claims. You have misconduct, unemployability, goes through it again, age and service connected claims. Age may not be considered as a factor in evaluating service-connected disability, and unemployability and service-connected claims associated with advancing age or intercurrent disability may not be used as basis for a total disability rating. Age, as such, is a factor only in evaluations of disability not resulting from service for the purposes of pension. So this is when you fall into the pension program where you reach a certain age. That's when they basically base it on that. You can be 18, you can be 75. They are still going to go off of the CFR depending on what the rating scale and the evaluation criteria is for that. So it doesn't matter your age unless it's to go for pension, and that's when they'll take that into account. If it's not for pension reasons, they are not going to do that. They're just basically going to look at it as, you know what? This is what you're going to get. This is your rating. You can be, like I said, 18, 75, anything in between. You are getting this rating off of this. Analogous ratings, application of rating schedule. So, in view of the number of atypical instances, it is not expected, especially with the more fully described grades of disabilities, that all cases will show all the findings specified. Finding sufficiently characteristic to identify the disease and the disability therefrom, and above all, coordination of rating with impairment of function will, however, be expected in all instances. This is the part where, for my example, basically for myself, back spasms is not a rating. You can claim it, but it is not a rating. And it's basically seen as a symptom. It is seen as there you have an issue which is causing you your back spasms, but there's an underlying issue when it comes to that. So if you have any sort of back spasms of any sort, make sure to go see your doctor or your provider and let them know you are having back spasms, and then try to inquire further, whether that means MRIs or an x-ray, because most of the time back spasms are caused by an underlying issue. So if you have a slip disc, it is your back spasming, letting you know, like, hey man, I'm overworking trying to keep this in place. Or I have an issue where it's a slip disc, or your degenerative disc disease where your bones are, your cartilage isn't there the same. So you may have issues with your back because your muscles are tensing up so much to try to compensate for what it can't do regularly. So keep that in mind when it comes to that. Rating disabilities aggravated by active service. This is something that most veterans tend to forget or they go through, but this is where you are receiving disability off of the aggravation in your time in service. In order to have this happen, what needs to happen is that you, most of the time, well, basically, you have to have this disability or this issue notated through MEPS. So when you're going through MEPS and you've had back issues, they're putting that in back issues. So you've already have it, they've already diagnosed you, and it's just like, hey, when you're going into the service, we already know that you have back issues, or you had dealt with migraines, or you dealt with whatever may be notated, it's already notated before you go into the service. Now, the rating for something that got aggravated is basically they are not going to go off of, because they basically notate what the disability was, how bad it was, how severe it was. On the back end, when you're claiming it, now it's how much worse has it got. You are not going to receive compensation for the full amount from when you had it, when you started, and at the end. You are going to receive the compensation as of how it's aggravated. Now, changes different, the ranges change, but it's basically saying you already had this. We didn't cause it. What we did do was we made it worse. So we're going to compensate you for the amount that it's worsened. So let's say you have a shoulder or whatever issue. They measure your range of motion when you first came in and it was at 1%, and then that's what they had you at. If you move over to the next one, now it's just like, okay, move to the next one. You move to the next one and it's just like, okay, from here to here, now your range of motion has worsened. So what percentage is from where you were at to where you're at now? And that's what they get and compensate you for. So it's basically, if you lost 30% of range of motion, what does the 30% fall under? It is not going to be the 10 plus the 30% in range. It's going to be the 30% that they're looking at to compensate you for. Combined ratings table. This is basically the easiest way. I wouldn't say the easiest way, but the combined ratings table is how you figure out where you are when it comes to your rating. So a big issue that a lot of veterans have when it comes to their disability ratings is that they like to mention, oh, I'm at 80%. Are you at 80%? Are you at 76%, 75%, 84%? This is the biggest thing and a lot of issues that veterans have when it comes to filing their disability claims. This is another one of those issues that where there's this misconception of, I'm getting paid at the 80% mark, so I'm 80% disabled. That is far from what the case is. When you have your disability ratings, whatever the disability ratings are, I have a video also on YouTube. Is basically understanding VA math, or giving you the explanation of how VA math works. For me, the easiest way to explain to veterans is you are a pizza pie. Your percentages are your percentages, but you are a pizza pie that is whole at 100%. Whatever your disability rating is, your highest one, you remove that percentage from your pie. So let's say you got a 50% rating. That means that 50% of that rating gone. 50% of the 100 is gone. Now you have 50% of the pie left. Now let's say you have another 50% rating. It's 50% of that pie that's left. Now you have 25%. So it's not a 1 + 1 = 2, which a lot of veterans always end up losing it. It's just like, I got all these ratings, I got all these percentages, and I'm not at 100%. It happens because veterans don't actually go through and notate what their actual percentage is. Because you can have multitude of ratings, but you have to go through this. Because this will explain to you where you specifically fall at. I explain it in that video, but this is a way of showing you through the combined ratings table. So like I said, if you have a 50% rating, you're at 50%. It basically explains what happens when you get, if you were to get another 10% from 50, you get to 55. Get 20%, you get 60. 30%, 65. 40%, 70. 50%, 75. 60%, 80. 70%, 85. 80%, 90. 90%, 95. And then at 95, that would rate you up. Because remember, they round up from the 5 up. It's rounding up. So if you hit the 5, you get paid at the next percentage. So that's why when I say, hey, I'm an 80% disabled veteran and I'm getting paid at the 80% mark, you are getting paid at the 80% mark. Literally, if you are 75%, you're getting paid at the 80. If you are 84%, you are getting paid at the 80. Now, this is a big discrepancy of 10 different percentages, but you can see that if you are, let's say, at 75%, to get to 95%, you need another 80. If you are 84%, to get to 95, you need 70. So that's why it's important for veterans that when they are looking at their disability ratings, you have to make sure that you are looking at specifically, where do I sit at? What is my actual percentage? So that's why it's important for veterans when you get your rating evaluation and your document that basically tells you what you got rated at and stuff like that, read that. Because the thing is it basically tells you you're getting paid at this percentage. And a lot of veterans get stuck on the fact that that's there. So then when a veteran goes to file for an increase and they're at 75%, which has them at the 80, in order to get to 90%, you need to get to 85. But that's a big difference. Because that would mean from 75, you need another 40 to get to 85. Then you get paid at the 90. But let's say you file, you're at 75 and you decided you forgot about hearing loss. And hearing loss, it was bad enough, but not too bad, where you didn't lose like complete hearing, but you have lost some hearing. That may be only a 10% increase. So you're only at 78%, which means you're still getting paid at the 80% mark because you didn't break the 85. So now you might have thought, oh, I got 75% with another 10%. I should be up there. Or I'll add it 10% to 75 should get me to 85. Doesn't work that way. And that's one thing that veterans need to understand when it comes to evaluating yourself or filing for increases. You have to know what your disability rating is so that way you know what you're pushing towards. Because if you want to get to that 100%, you need to know what it is to get to 100%. Because clearly from 75 to get to 95, it's another 80%. If you're filing for increases and filing for different claims and it's only going to get you 40%, you're not going to get there. You may have thought, because of the way the numbers worked, you may have thought, oh, that's going to get me, I got it, I'm good to go. It doesn't work that way. Remember, you are a whole piece of pie. You are taking percentage of a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of what's remaining in the pie. It's not just adding up all these numbers and then, oh, when I add it, because some people add it and be like, oh, I'm at like 150 disability rating. That doesn't equal 100%. And remember, when you get to that 100%, there's 4 different types. The temporary is usually for surgery. The scheduler one is the one where you reached 100%, but they feel that you may improve in certain ones, so they're not giving you the total and permanent and total. TDIU, we went over earlier, which explains that and gives you the TDIU mark. Then you have the permanent and total, the P&T, which is basically you are 100% permanently and totally disabled. And most of the time that is because the VA evaluated you and they saw it and be like, look, this dude is not getting any better. Or this woman is not getting any better. They're not going to get any better. Their symptoms are just going to worsen progressively over time. So we know that it's a disability rating now. We're just going to put them as static, meaning we know and understand that this disability rating is going to worsen over time and not get better. So keep that in mind. But this is basically what you need to do. Make sure you go here, and it's as simple. I have the video explaining that. Let me see if I can get the link for it real quick. Give me a second as I get the link for the VA math video. And then basically that helps explain, because now you understand where you're sitting at. You understand, oh, I've done this. I've gotten to this point. I know where this number is. I know what my rating is, and I'm not surprised by the fact that, oh, I got an increase, but I did it. Okay, this is the shareable link. I'm putting this here. If it'll paste it. Okay, so that's the video. It'll show up on Twitch and YouTube if you are currently on TikTok watching. My best suggestion is always tune in. Go to my link in the bio. Check out the YouTube, because that one it's easier. You get the same visual, but if you're doing this on YouTube, you can see the full screen and see the full page instead of just like the snippets of the vertical aspect of it. The same way with when it comes to the veteran awareness that way. So you have that information. And as we continue down, it's the same thing, bilateral factor. This explains left and right, where sometimes people think you're not going to get a extra claim because it's the same thing. Some of those things get joined, some of those don't. And they explain that and they put that into this part, which is the bilateral factor. For some, it's like you have left and you have right. What mainly happens with that is you have your dominant hand and you have your non-dominant hand. When it comes to stuff like that, the non-dominant hand does not get the same rating as the dominant hand. If you are primarily right-handed, your right hand is the dominant hand, you are going to receive a slightly higher, which most of the times with the disability ratings is a 10% increase. So question is, I'm currently at 80%. Got a back injury with DJD and put New Age. Please, with the acronyms, when you have the acronyms, please, I always beg, please make sure to type out everything. I know it may take a couple of extra messages, but not every veteran understands what your acronym is, and sometimes I don't even understand what the acronym is. So please make sure to put the whole wording out. The average range of, okay, see, that makes it makes it a lot easier. So I'm currently at 80%, got a back injury with DJD and radioculopathy, 15 average range of motion. Okay, so what is your question with that? Because the thing is you're at 80%, but like I said, are you at 80 flat, or are you in the range? You're in the range of 74 to 84. So that's where you have the degenerative joint disease. Okay. So you have a back injury with degenerative joint disease and 15% radioculopathy. I can never say that. I can never say most of the words here. So when you have that basically can be different ratings. So in that case, you have an injury, you have the issue with the nerves and the issue with that, with the radioculopathy, and then you have degenerative disc disease, basically, because they call it degenerative joint disease, but it's basically rated as degenerative disc disease. So if you are, what are you trying to accomplish? Because if you're trying to accomplish, let's say, an increase, in cases like that, that's where you would go, and this is where it's easy to use here, because there's an easy way of showing it. So you have degenerative disc disease, so you would have to go through musculoskeletal. So in that case, you would have to find where it has back issues. Oh, you're at 80% flat. Okay, good. See, because it starts off pelvic bone, all that stuff, and you keep scrolling down, it has this information. So you want to go to where it has back issues because you see it has shoulder, stuff like that, hands. You keep going down, then it goes to the spine. So in the spine, you have the diagnostic codes that explains it, and here it goes. It gives you a breakdown. These are the different ones you can claim. So you have vertebrae fracture, injury, lumboscocervical strain, spinal stenosis, spinal fusion, degenerative arthritis or degenerative disc disease, other than intervertebral disc syndrome. All of these fall under this criteria. So basically, it is asking or saying, what is your range of motion? So your range of motion may be at 15, right? So forward flexion of the cervical spine, 15 degrees or less, favorable ankylosing will give you a 30% rating. In order for that to increase, it would have to be forward flexion of the thoral spine 30 degrees or less, but unfavorable of the entire cervical spine for this one. So basically, it's the forward flexion, and this is explained through here. Because this is how they evaluate you when you go to your CMP exam. You should be going to the CMP exam, and you should have your CMP examiner have a gynometer. Basically, it looks like a protractor. If you don't see something that looks like a protractor that has like the thing to be able to measure the angles, that's something that you can file as a complaint that when you get your rating, hey, my CMP examiner did not provide a gynometer and did not measure the angle correctly. If they're just eyeing it, that's already a bad time. They should not be eyeing it. Fire Nice, thank you for tuning in as always. But that's something that you want to pay attention to. Gynometer. It looks like a protractor. I need to get myself one of those so I can show it because I could never. It's one. It's one member that tunes in a lot that he always has to break it down for me how to say it. But that's how it is. Cause so when you see the CFR, this is how they're rating you. This is what they're looking at. So when it comes to cervical spine, which is anything above, like upper back, this is how they're checking. Because if you have neck issues, they want to know how much can you turn. If you got to turn like this, where your whole body has to turn, that's an issue. That's a certain rating. If it's you can go this way one way, but you can't go this way the other way, that's another rating. It's all dependent on this movement because that's how they evaluate it. So it's not how painful it is because you can turn one way and you can be in massive pain. That don't mean anything to them. I don't like to put it that way because sometimes I put it that way, but it's not exactly what I mean. It's not that the VA don't care for your pain, but they can't evaluate that. They can see you wincing, they can see you doing that, and that's something that they do notate in their records. So when you go and do a rotation, you can only go 15 degrees before you get pain. All right, let's look at it. And then they're going to go through it and see what this is. What the 15% mark gets you. What the 30% mark went to, like, and stuff like that. So you being there in order to get an increase, that would mean that you would have to fall under the criteria through the CFR, basically stating that your range of motion has lessened. If your range of motion has increased, that's how you get you can get a decrease in compensation or decrease in rating. Because then that means you have more motion. But if you have less motion, the same way with your back, if you can't bend to a 90 degrees, because sometimes they'll be like, hey, touch your toes. You go, that's it, I'm done. I feel pain. Stop. That's the other thing. Veterans. When it comes to your CMP exam, they did use it. Okay, cool. When it comes to the CMP exam, stop pushing it. Stop pushing it. Stop pushing yourself. Because that's what I know. The amount of veterans that do that on the CMP exam is overwhelming. Once you feel pain, once your pain starts hitting, once you start feeling it, stop. Don't keep going. Don't try to push it because you know you can. I had to have the CMP examiner tell me that. He was like, look, man, I started seeing you wince here. You made it further. Are you in pain this whole time? When did the pain start? And then he told me, it was just like, look, I'm basing it off of where your pain starts. Because some, like I said, some veterans have a high pain threshold, some have a low. The whole point of ranging of the motion is, where does it begin to bother you? That's the angle they are going for. Like I said, if you are going and doing your spine, right? You're going through your spine and see how it goes 30, leaning back and bending all the way over. If you bend and it's like you started getting pain at like 15 degrees, but you forced your way all the way down to 90, you may have a CMP examiner that looks at it like, well, you don't, your back ain't that fucked up. You were able to bend and touch your toes. You were in pain. They ain't gonna see your face if your face is towards the floor. They're not gonna get under you and see and look at your face to see if you're in pain. You have to stop when your pain starts. That is the main thing. Stop when your pain starts. Not start when you can like you can stop. It's completely unbearable. It's no. Your pain started at this level, so you have issues at this level. So keep that in mind, please, veterans, and pass that along. That's one of the biggest things. Pass that along to anybody you may know. any veteran that is having on a CMP exam or shit. Send them this way. Send them to the channel. You stop where your pain starts. You do not push through. This is the one place, the CMP exam is the one place where your pain, you don't give a shit how strong you are, how hardcore. It's just like, oh, I'm going through this. Your hardcoreness is what causes you to get a lower rating. Why? Because if your range of motion shows that you have full range of motion, even though it's painful, it's not pain enough that why would a rater give you a higher rating for something that you are able to completely do? You're doing it in pain, but you're still able to completely do. So when you get to that pain threshold, whether it's lifting your arm up, if you're lifting your arm up and once you get to like here, it's like, yeah, I feel the pain. Stop. You can wince and everything. You can show that you have the pain, but stop. You don't have to show that you can. These people they don't want to know that you can do a full. They're not going to tell you to start doing jumping jacks or something like that. They're going to tell you, hey, this is where it is. Shit, he's at 90%. Okay. They're going to write down you bent and your flexion extension of your back is 90% because they're going off of that gynometer. If you stop at 15%, well, okay, 15% it is. That's what they're going to jot down. They're not going to go off of anything else. So keep that in mind, veterans, because that's where a lot of veterans end up hurting themselves with their ratings because it's just like you wanted to be the tough guy. You have that mental thought process of, how it was in service. Suck it up, man up, you'll be all right. Take some Motrin, take a knee and drink water. That's what we all got. When it comes to the CMP exam, throw all that shit out the window. This is where, hey, your injury stops at this injury, at this point. This is where I feel pain. This is where you will be rated and evaluated at. If you don't do it that way, you're just going to be shit out of luck. Sorry to say it that way, but you're going to get a lower rating. Then you may end up filing for an appeal, but you may not win that appeal because of the fact that you did it again at the next CMP exam. It was like you're trying to say that your back is worse than what they actually rated it as, but you keep on bending the full way. It was just like, what's the appeal for? I was like, you're at the same ability to rotate and flex. So it was just like, we don't need to change anything. You're at that point. This was like, how much attention does the VA pay toward the physical therapy appointment documentation? So physical therapy documentation, in what case, Mike? Is it the VA's physical therapy or your own private physical therapy? Because you got to remember, in both cases, what are you trying to highlight with that documentation? That's the biggest thing. Are you highlighting that your issue has gotten worse? And that physical therapy documentation highlights that and shows that, hey, Maybe when you got rated, you were at that the VA. Okay. So when the VA looks at it, that's also your documentation. So you can use that documentation for an increase because that is medical evidence. So you also have to pay attention to what the VA physical therapy is putting in your thing. So that's why it's good to download your C file, download all your VA physical therapy appointments and all that stuff, and read through it because then it might say, oh, service members uh range of motion has decreased over time with this physical therapy, or pain is still there, pain has not improved, physical therapy has not helped them with this range of motion or has helped alleviate anything. Those are the things you got to put in there because those are the things that can be highlighted, that you can go ahead and take that documentation and make it its own PDF. I was like range of motion or back issue or whatever it is that the physical therapy is for. Separate that. Take all your documentation, put it into a separate PDF. So every physical therapy, because you got to remember when it comes to getting your records, they don't separate it. You are going to get all these pages of every appointment, and they're going to put it in numerical order of when you had the appointment. Not, hey, physical therapy was January 1st. January 8th, January 20 something. They're not going to specify and separate those things. It's going to be January 1st, whatever you got in between, January 8th, whatever you got in between, 20 something, like that. So what you want to do is create your own PDF. Take that file, physical therapy on the 1st. Says range of motion, he has pain or whatever. January 8th, range of motion has decreased. 20 something, range of motion has decreased even more. So if you're putting all of those separate and then it's just like, boom, now you have that information. Now you can use it to show like, hey, I am filing for an increase because even through the VA appointments, I have this showing and highlighting that from the 1st to the 8th to the 20 something and my continuing physical therapies, my disability has gotten worse. And you put it that way and it makes it 10 times easier. If you are just going to submit your whole record, which a lot of veterans do, it's just like, oh, my record is there. If you didn't have or want to put the time to actually look through your whole thing, why do you expect a VA rater to do the same? Plain and simple. It's not his body. It's not their money. Some people like to say, oh, the VA likes to act like it's their money. No, they're going off of the CFR. If you don't highlight what you need to highlight, because shit, you can literally highlight it and submit it as documentation so that way when they see it, it's just like, damn, this person actually highlighted this shit so I know what to find. Okay, so what can I expect if my daughter is a freshman in college and she has been 18 for 4 months? She is under a Chapter 35 program under her stepdad. I claim for dependency 18 over. Expectation, she has lived between two households. New age. In that case, oh, hold on, give me 1 second, y'all. I gotta do this for TikTok because TikTok likes to, oh shit. Oh, TikTok likes to act like if you're streaming and it goes out, nobody's there for some reason. I don't know why it does that, but whatever. The dependency depends on who the person is under. So who has the daughter as the dependent? Is she a dependent under your file or your name, or is she a dependent under the stepdad's name? Because the thing is you can't have them for both. So basically, you won't be, if she's under his dependents as a dependent, you're not going to be able to claim it and try to get the 18 and over as an institution because you don't have her in your record. If you do have it, then from there you can claim it. But if you don't have her as one of your dependents through the thing, can't do it. And you're currently at 80%. So at 80%, you're not going to be able to receive the Chapter 35 benefits. So the thing is the DEA works for that reason. Now, the thing is like you said, she has lived in between two households. That's a tricky situation because the thing is it depends on who has her on the record. If she's getting Chapter 35 from the stepdad, that means the stepdad has her as a dependent. You're claiming her for 18 and over to basically get the extra pay, which I think is almost like an extra $300 from the regular amount. That becomes a tricky situation, and there I'm not too sure because of the fact that you have. I don't believe you both can't claim her. She can't be claimed under both y'all stuff because it's two different parents. It feels like if you were married with the person, that's one thing, but it's two different entities here. So that's something you got to make sure to pay attention to, because the thing is she has the 35, chapter 35. You may not have her for the dependency over 18 because she's not an actual dependent of yours, or she's not being claimed as a dependent of yours. So that's something that you have to work out. But I would still say that, hey, if the stepdad has her under the chapter 35 and she's just receiving that stipend, leave it as is. Because then at least that gives her the benefit of using that stipend while she's at school. She has been my dependent until 18 expired. So what you have to do is then you have to notify. But that's the thing, is just like the fact that she's under chapter 35 under somebody else. That's why I was just like, so did he start claiming her as the dependent after 18? Because in cases like that, you would have to call and notify the VA that you have your child is over 18, but she is in an accredited school. But in that case, I would definitely suggest calling the VA to get a better understanding, because of the fact that you're not 100% PNT, but you're trying to claim her for the dependent part, but then she's using the benefits from the stepdad. So I would definitely suggest calling the VA to get a better clarification on that, because that one seems like a very sticky situation that I am not, I am not sure what it is. Because if she's receiving the benefits from one location, she's receiving it there, but then she was your dependent. She fell off of it because she hit 18. You have to notify the VA that, hey, I have a kid that is 18 that she's falling under it. The thing is they're going to verify that she's in an accredited school. But then if they verify the fact that she's already on the chapter 35 somebody else, you may fall into some problems where I don't want you to get paid for that, and then you owe that money back because she's already receiving benefits on another end. So I would definitely suggest calling the VA, getting some clarification on that as to, hey, can I claim her because she is my dependent for the school, but can she use the benefits on the other side? Which I don't think that would be able to, but the VA would be better able to answer that question, because that one, that's a tricky one. All right, so we'll continue with the use of diagnostic code numbers. The diagnostic code numbers is basically the code which each disability has. So each disability has its own enumeration. So basically each disability has its number. I've already made this claim. Proof of the accredited school has been received. So you already made the claim. So if you made the claim and they prove it, then you should be receiving it as soon as they accept it. If there's no other issue or like conflict of interest because of the fact that the stepdad is doing that, you should be able to receive that. You should be able to receive the extra pay as long. Now, you just have to clarify like the time period, because I think with that you have to like reestablish to make sure that the kid is still in an accredited school, because you get that payment while they're in the school, not when they're out of it. So I'm not sure how that works when it comes to like summertime. They're not in school during the summer. Do you still receive the same amount or do you not? That's why I say the VA would be a better person to ask, because I'm not sure. I don't want to lead you in the wrong direction. So at least with that portion of it, definitely contact the VA to see what else it is. But if the claim is already made and they have it and they will be paying it, you will be receiving that extra pay for your kid being in an accredited school. So here we have like I said, the diagnostic codes. Um, Extend from 5,000 to possible 9,099. If you go and scroll all the way to the bottom, you can scroll all the way to the bottom and it gets to the appendix. Here it has a table of amendments and effective dates. So this is where it shows what the diagnostic code is, when was the last time it got changed, or when was the last time it got updated. So there's another place where you can see, hey, all these rating codes, and it goes from 5,000 all the way to 9,999. This is all the times that they've been updated. See, and then it says added on this day, removed on this day, stuff like that, because that does happen. So you got to make sure you're paying attention to that because they do change. Then they have it in numerical order. In numerical order, it's basically like this is just the order in numeration 5,000 to 9,000, whatever. If you look at it that way, you can look at it that way. Then you also have in alphabetical order. So this one may be easier to find it because if you know what it is you are trying to claim, you can get the diagnostic code here. The diagnostic code comes in handy when you are filling out, let's say, a disability benefits questionnaire, so a DBQ. Because the DBQ, when you are filling it out, it'll show you. So we can go and show what the DBQ will look like. Where's it at? Where's it at? Got the DBQ, and let's say you are dealing with, see something most people have. Most muscular back for the spine. When you look at this, you're going to go through it and you're going to see, okay, this is the information here. When it says ICD code, the ICD code is you filling out the diagnostic code. So you would be able to look at the CFR, whatever it is. So let's say it's ankylosing spondylitis. Y'all know what it says. I'm not fighting that one. And it goes and you check it and it should break it down through here. Ankylosis of the ankle, digits, individual, stuff like that. And it'll break it down and you just go through it and you find it. Then once you find it, it'll give you that diagnostic code. And that's what you would plug in into the DBQ to give you that diagnostic code. So it's easier to maneuver and easier to find. And also gives you the different, while using the DBQ, it gives you the different issues that you may be dealing with that you may not have got a diagnosis for. But if your private doctor or your medical provider sees this and they have this and it's just like, you know what? You do have a strain. But then I didn't realize that you do have degenerative disc disease and that's what's causing that. And then that can cause segmental instability, or that may cause vertebrae dislocation. So this is something that you use with the DBQ. And also all of these are available on our website, the Vet Awareness Project website. If you check on there, we have a listing of all the DBQs available. I just got to go through them again to make sure because these get updated on a usual basis. And then there are changes that were made where the VA secretary, even though that man is busy as hell with two other jobs he's in charge of, he would basically be the final factor on deciding, hey, this DBQ will be able to be used to the public as a public doctor or they will not. Keep that in mind. So that's still changing. They hasn't made any changes towards it yet. But Found Treasure, what's up? They haven't made any changes towards it yet, but this is the page where it would be on. So if you don't know the disability benefits questionnaire, there is a link to it and it'll basically say what gets removed or not. So when he decides, if he decides that some of these DBQs should not be sent out to the public or should not be public anymore, he will make that decision and that will be notated on this site. And we will also make sure to put that on the website saying, hey, removed by VA secretary. So that way people are knowing that. But that's how you want to do that when it comes to that. And you can go back and we can go back up. Use of diagnostic codes. And that's the good thing about this on the side. If you click on it, it gives you a breakdown of all these things. So it gives you what these things are, basically the explanation to it within the CFR, and then it gives you the schedule of ratings for each. So if you notice at the bottom, each one of these usually just has schedule of ratings, or if it's not at the bottom, is within that section, basically highlighting what the schedule of ratings is for that disability. Next question. Let me see. What was the question? So question we have is, Do you believe Doge is going to affect the processing time for my fully developed back injury and clear and unmistakable error for chronic disease, kidney disease claim, which is 10% but meets 30 due to CFR? So new age. The question I like with that is Doge going to affect it? Yes. I don't care what veterans tell me. I don't care. We have to think outside the box when it comes to this. First, there has been already 1,000 employees dismissed, and these were on probationary period. You got to keep in mind, a lot of these probationary period personnel that were removed were hired within the last 2 years. Within the last 2 years, that's when the PACT Act came in. That's where an extra 2 million claims have been put in through the PACT Act alone. The appeals board is behind 2 years in a backlog. If you are removing people, if you are firing people, if you are asking people to certify or state what it is that they do, if it is people changing or positions changing, or hey, we no longer have this many people to do it, it's going to worsen the backlog. Why? Because if you're scared to lose your job, best believe you are not going to be paying attention to what rating you are giving a veteran. People aren't looking at it like that. They're not paying attention to it like that. But we got to be realistic. If you're in a position where you're working and you might get fired, are you giving 100%? If you're in limbo and you know shit, I might get a letter saying, "Hey, you've been terminated." That is gonna affect it. These errors, the backlog, the appeals, all of that we may have a slowdown and a decrease in getting stuff done for a couple of months, or depending on how long this takes. Because the thing is that was the first wave of 1,000. If they go through it and they see, you know what, we need to get rid of more people, that's gonna affect it also. But I do believe Doge is affecting it because it's affecting all over the place. Because a lot of times it's a lot of veterans that are losing their jobs also. So a third of the federal workforce is veterans. Veterans are in this group that are losing it, and it's affecting a lot of people. It gives anxiety to not know if you're gonna have a job or not. If you're in a probationary period, a lot of the people that were hired, because a lot of hirings happened these past 2 years to help assist with claims. So meaning those people that got hired within those 2 years were on probationary periods and they got dismissed. So yes, I do believe that is going to affect going forward. How badly or how that I can't answer. But I do believe it will affect, at some rate, it will affect going forward what the VA is doing. Budget constraints also. If the budget gets changed or something like that, that also goes to it. Your disability compensation is not going to be changed. But the people evaluating, the CMP examiners, the VA raters, the appeals court and stuff like that, hiring freeze, all that stuff comes into factor when we're already behind on taking care of veterans. We may slow down even more to take care of veterans with the ability to not hire more people, removing people, and not being able to assist them fully. So just keep that in mind. If there was an error or something like that, that means you're going through an appeals. Like I said, the appeals backlog is of 2 years right now. If we're on a hiring freeze, we can't hire people, can't hire no new judges or new claim raters. It's gonna backlog. So keep that in mind when it comes to it. I'm not a big fan of all these changes and stuff like that, but all that is gonna come. It's gonna come together. So that as veterans, it's just like can't be naive and be like, oh, they're doing a good job removing the fluff and stuff like that. There has been no evidence of showing that there's actual evaluation or performance measures being used to remove the people that are doing these jobs. So right now, the VA raters and the CMP examiners, there's no evaluation criteria. It's basically, oh, you were probationary, gone. You could have been removing the better part of the workforce with those 1,000 that you removed. We won't know because there's no performance measures being held accountable. It's like us. If you were an NCO or an officer, if you had an OER, NCOER, that's what they looked at. That's not being looked at. It's just basically, oh, you got the job, you've been in here probation 2 years, gone. Keep that in mind, y'all. I don't want to sound like an asshole or something like that, but it is we got to be straightforward with each other. We got to be to the point. Ain't no beating around the bush or anything like that. You got to be straightforward. People have lost their jobs. The system is not. The system was already falling behind with these changes. Not knowing what's gonna happen. The schedule of ratings possibly changing in April and stuff like that. That's gonna affect people going. Yeah, it's crazy, and that's what a lot of veterans don't pay attention to. A lot of veterans are paying attention to the fact that it's just like, oh, people lost their jobs. They were probably bad at it. There's nothing proving that they were actually bad at their jobs. There's nothing that has been shown to show that there was performance measures taken. If you notice, everything being reported is probationary period personnel. Meaning, well, you just recently got the job. You may have been great. You were under probation, so we don't need you. For some, it's even people that just got promoted to a new position. They could have been in the VA. There's stories. If you see the different forums and different groups, it shows that. See, look at that. Look at that. Extreme Recluse, look, with the answer. There's an answer for you, New Age. I actually received a letter from the VA saying they are sorry for the delay. I think they are starting to warn veterans that the waiting times are going to increase exponentially. Is it's common sense, but the thing is veterans aren't paying attention to these things. Same way people don't pay attention to the CFR and how it can assist them with their ratings. People aren't paying attention. They are we how can I put it? Veterans right now are having tunnel vision. Tunnel vision. Where's my disability rating? Where's my disability rating? Where's my disability rating? It's not what's causing my disability rating to slow down. It's the VA sucks, which is one of the bigger ones that most people say. But if the VA is starting to send out letters saying we're sorry for the delay, that is basically, hey, I don't want to piss off all these veterans. It's the best way of fucking putting it. I don't want to piss all these people off. I gotta let them know ahead of time, you might be waiting a bit longer. Like I said, a hiring freeze, meaning for the next, we're at what, day 30 maybe? Like day 31 of this administration, day 32. No more hirings from when he signed that executive order for 90 days. So no new people. You got rid of 1,000 people, and we were already behind. Wait times may increase. So my best thing would say is if you are planning to file a disability claim or have a disability claim, if you're already in the appeals process and stuff like that, you're gonna have to wait it out. Unfortunately, there's no fixing that. The only way is like it's the priority processing, and that's only if you are like near death, terminal, or sometimes it's because of age, depending on how old you are or what the issue is. That's how you get the priority processing. Otherwise, you are on the same list that you were on before, and you are waiting till the front part of the list gets exhausted. When that happens, like I said, 2 years already on backlogs for 2 to 3 years on the appeals. No hiring, no new people. Some people may be getting removed or fired for those positions. It's going to slow it down. So, and if a letter is being sent out, that's definitely a sign that things are about to get slower. Extreme. If possible, if you would be able to maybe like blot out your information or something like that and just send me that letter through my email so that way I can have it and I can probably make a video on it, because I'm already at the 100% P&T mark. I'm not filing any other claims, so I wouldn't receive this letter. But this is something that should be pushed out to veterans like, hey, check your mail because you may be receiving one of these letters. And one of these letters is going to be stating that, hey, there may be wait times. But the funny thing is they're not mentioning how long. They're saying there's a delay. They're not saying how long the delay, but it's just basically like saying, hey, here's this letter. We told you it's going to take some time. So when you're waiting a long time, we sent you a letter. Can't be mad at me. I sent you a letter already. I told you it's going to take longer. It's going to be a while. Here's the information you need. So that's something you got to keep in mind when it comes to that. But that's why it's like important to pay attention to the CFR, pay attention to the fact that, hey, this information is going to be important. Because if you are filing your disability claim the correct way, vet so vet awareness. Hold on, let me type this in. My computer wants to work. So it is vet awareness project at gmail.com. Not the W. I meant to put the at sign. So there you go. Yeah. So that's where it's sending to, because that's something I would like to push out to veterans, because it's just like, hey, veterans, keep in mind that this may be happening. This is something you need to know. This is something you need to keep aware of, because something like that is important to let veterans know. Because the thing is some veterans have already been waiting, or are in that 2 year wait, 2 to 3 year wait. Now, if you send them another letter saying it's going to take even longer, I'm not going to say that it's going to alleviate some anxiety or some things, but at least you know that the VA is trying to tell you, like, look, we going through some shit right now. We don't know when your shit is going to get done, but we just want to let you know that we apologize for it taking so long, and it might be a bit. But just keep that in mind. That's why, hey, check the CFR out. Pay attention to the CFR. Get your ratings done correctly the first time. Get your documentation, your evidence, your buddy letters, your nexus letters, your DBQs. Get everything done right the first time, so you are not falling into the appeals process. Because like I said, even if you were to file today, you know what that is, to tell a veteran that, hey, you won't get an answer till 2027. Like, bro, we just started the year. We haven't even finished the second month, and you're telling me I gotta wait another 2 years just to find out why y'all messed up? And it can just be something like how Next Agent said that the new age said they messed it up. It could be clear as day that the VA messed it up, or the VA way to overlook something, for them to say 2 years. But that's through the appeals. The higher level review is one thing, and the supplemental claim is another. But that still falls under a different category, because it's just like, this is more of an appeals. Like, they're saying something was wrong, as compared to you are now filing your disability claim. Remember, we still got a bunch of vets that are getting out of the military. They're retiring in these coming years. They've done their 20 plus years after serving through Iraq and Afghanistan. They're hitting that. So there may be an even more influx of more disability claims filed through that. The burn pit and registry thing is being updated and it's being changed. You fall into it. If you're in those areas, you're there. But something just came out, I forget what it was, that they announced about it. Is a specific thing for veterans in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and not anything before that. So there's certain things that they are going to put, because they know Iraq and Afghanistan, you were stirring it. You were stirring it, or you were sleeping by it, or whatever the case. That is stuff that they're going to try to make sure that these veterans are taken care of. But you got to remember, this is a whole new wave of veterans coming out. Vietnam is already done. Desert Storm was already done. There's a whole new wave of veterans coming out doing their 20 years. All these people that are retiring, all these old SAR majors and all that stuff that have been there, this is all going to be changing. So keep that in mind. And as we go, it's like ratings for service-connected disabilities requiring hospital treatment or observation. And this is where temporary 100% is. A total disability rating 100% will be assigned without regard to other provisions of the rating schedule when it is established that a service-connected disability has required hospital treatment at a Department of Veteran Affairs or an approved hospital for a period in excess of 21 days, or hospital observation at the Department of Veteran Affairs for a service-connected disability for a period in excess of 21 days. It gives you a further breakdown on here and convalescent ratings Same thing, gives you that rating. That is basically explaining, because the reason you get the temporary is like, let's say you are getting shoulder surgery. They know you're not going to be able to use your shoulder for that time. So that means what you need to do is, well, it's not what you need to do because they're going to do it anyway. You're going to get this surgery. They're going to know you're going to be in therapy or you're going to be in physical therapy to recuperate from this shoulder injury. You're not going to be able to use it. So you're going to get paid 100% for that time period that it's basically scheduled, like day of surgery till day of what they expect the recovery date to be. So if it might be like 6 months, so you may have 100% for 6 months. Then you'll be reevaluated. Then from there, you will probably have another CMP exam to check what your arm is dealing with. So if your shoulder got better, or if you're doing worse, or you're in pain, or your range of motion is still trash, you may get increase, you may get a decrease depending on what it is, but you will get that 100% rating for that time period, and that's one of the four, which is the temporary rating. Is there someone offering assistance with learning the ropes? Retired 21 years ago. Like, what do you mean when it's offering assistance with learning the ropes? Most of these, like, this is something, Carlos, that I do as a veteran that dealt with a lot of issues when it came to just trying to file my disability claims once I got out, and I've assisted people I've served with personally with getting them to 100% PNT. I don't offer. I still don't want to do the whole consultation thing, because the thing is I am not filing disability claims for anybody. That is your thing. What I do with these workshops is I pick a topic. I am going to guide you how to understand and interpret what you need to basically help you when it comes to the CFR, when it comes to any other benefits, Chapter 35, the DEA benefits, VA loan, stuff like that. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you to go to a VSO, which is free and nobody's charging you, or I'm going to show you where you can go through a .gov site to get there. I don't recommend going to these claim companies that is going to charge you thousands of dollars for something that if you knew how to do, you would be able to do it yourself. Same with me. I thought about going to one of these claim agencies, and then they told me it was going to be a couple $1,000s, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'll figure it out." I got my disability rating, I got my 100% PNT, and I kept all my money. I didn't have to pay somebody because I just did the heavy research, did a lot of stuff, but it was more, this is stuff that you would have to do on your own. There's tons of other channels, there's tons of other YouTube channels, but all these other YouTube channels, from what I've noticed, they don't give this in-depth breakdown of how to understand what it is you're dealing with or how to look at these situations. What they do is that they try to tell you, hey, file for this, you'll get this, or this is how you get to 100%. We're not doing that here. We're trying to educate veterans so that they can educate other veterans and understand and learn, hey, this is how you get a rating. This is how you work towards getting a rating. This is how your CMP exam should go. This is how your documentation should look, or what you need to do to have a more solid claim. So when you submit it, it's foolproof and you're getting that approval right away. It's not for you to go through an appeals process and be waiting because they messed up your shit. Some of them is just that they messed it up, and sometimes it's that the veteran didn't do good enough diligence to do what they have to. But with this, is just offering. You got questions, ask. That's why I tell anybody that stops into any one of these lives. We are currently on YouTube. We are on TikTok. We are on Twitch. Sometimes we go on Facebook and use our Facebook page and stream there. And it's just basically, if you have veterans that need assistance and have questions, come to the stream, just ask. There's no such thing as a wrong question. It is basically you finding out what you need and you being guided to it. So, New Age, there's actually 5 tracks. So the VOC, the vocational, it's vet readiness. It's the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program, which is Chapter 31. It used to be called the Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment Program. It is now the VR. It's still the VRE, Veteran Readiness and Employment. They still do call it Vocational Rehabilitation Counselors. Business track. So out of those 5 tracks, I just made a question on the channel with that explains that. That new age, you have to speak to a counselor because there's 5 different tracks. All these 5 different tracks cover certain things, and they don't. The one that most people tend to use is the one that is the long term one, which is basically like you going to school, which is basically a secondary GI Bill. It's literally a secondary GI Bill because you get the housing allowance, you get your school paid for, and you get to go to school, and it's towards employment. Now, if it's for business, you have to talk to the counselor and see what is your business going to be. What are you trying to do with this business? Is it a to become a nonprofit? Is it to become a service for the military or not? Like all these things you have to ask them because each thing is different. The business track is going to show you how to have your own business, but do they send you to see if you're going to earn grants? Because you can get grants as a veteran for businesses, but you have to learn about those. Those are specific things that you would have to go through a rehabilitation counselor to get that stuff covered and identified. Because each track is different. Let me see. Because if we go to the va.gov, you just search and you just put VRE. VRE will populate and it shows up as this old one. You don't want to click on this one because this is old. So one thing I hate about this because it doesn't actually update everything. So when you type it in, you may have to type it in the whole thing. Veteran readiness and employment. So this gives you the highlight. I'm gonna put this link in the chat for you to check it out, which is directly where you would go and see about that because it gives you the information and the number to contact them and apply for it. So if you were to hit apply, it's going to ask you to log in most of the time, but it asks you the questions. If you already know you want to apply for the VRE, which one are you? So you're a veteran. Did you receive a charge other than dishonorable? No. To apply, you must have received an other than honorable. So did you receive a discharge status other than dishonorable? Yes, because you're honorable. Do you have a service-connected disability rating of 10%? Yes, because that is the criteria for the VRE. You have to have at least 10%. You already have that, and there it goes. Goes through it, start via, and it has a little slideshow on there also that gives you a breakdown of what it is. Next slide, the basic information, the application, entitlement, services, completion, the VRE tracks. There's reemployment, rapid access to employment, self-employment, employment through long-term services, which is usually the school one, and independent living. Rapid access to employment, self-employment, that's the business one. Go through it. It gives you little videos. And it gives you the different ones. So this one has rapid employment, self-employment. So it gives you a little video within it to actually view and check to see what it is there. So that's something you would have to make sure to talk to a counselor because your counselor is going to be the best bet because that's what they do. I will say I am not an expert at any of this. There's too much shit to be an expert at the VA. If somebody tells you they're expert at the VA stuff, they're full of shit. I'm sorry. There's no expert to all these different things. There's too many resources for somebody to be an expert at all VA. That's why most of the time I am knowledgeable in these things. When I know the stuff, I'll show you it right here, live and direct. When I'm not too sure, hey, go to a VSO, contact the VA, go through there because that's the best way of doing it. I don't wanna lead veterans in the wrong direction, and that's the thing that I've noticed with too many channels do that. Too many channels lead veterans in the wrong direction. It was just like, no, this is your answer. This is the .gov site. Like, hey, took you there. I gave you the link, showed you how to do it, where to go to. Not going to go any further than that. After that, that is for a VA VRE counselor to give you the in-depth knowledge because you're going to have specific questions. They're going to be the ones that are able to answer it. The VSO may not know that stuff, but they probably have somebody in their directory that can assist you with that. Because if you are going to, like, let's say the American Legion, the BFW, the Department of the Disabled American Veterans, or the Wounded Warrior Project, or of Gary Sinise Foundation, what else? There's Troops to Homes. There's like all these different entities. Usually they have the VSO, and then when you ask for a specific thing, they usually have another resource for it. So let's say with the VRE, oh, well, this is our specialist in our VRE stuff. Oh, this is a specialist for our VA home loan. This is the specialist for our education stuff. So that's why I say reach out to that, and always make sure to reach out to these organizations. These nonprofits like the BFW, which I'm part of, the American Legion, DAV, these people have resources, because some of them are connected to our government and are partnered with information with our government. They have resources. They have the funding to go ahead and get you assistance in a better way. So always go through those resources first before you go into an outside entity that may charge you for something that's free information. Same thing I said. It's just like, if it's free information, there should be no reason why a veteran is being charged for free information. No reason at all. Here, I do this for free. If people want to donate, if I've assisted, and I've had plenty of people, and you can ask a bunch of people that have come to this channel. Some of them are not here yet or have not shown up for the workshop, but you can ask a lot of them, and they will give you their testimony of how I've assisted them just by giving them answers. I filed the VA Freedom of Information Act for my claims file specifically 2 months ago. Yes, because basically that is you requesting your files. That is you requesting your files that basically the VA has. Sometimes you can even go, if you want to get your medical records and stuff, you can also go through the My Healthy Vet site, which I think you could go through the VA. Let me see. Benefits and healthcare. Now, let me go back to the site. I forget where it is. VA healthcare benefits, the Healthy Vet desk and all that stuff. You would go through there. And that takes you to the location where it'll give you the option to go to your records, and you can download your medical records. It takes like, I think, a day or two or something that way. The Freedom of Information Act, that one gives you the whole shebang if you want to. But make sure to do that, and you do that. Yeah, the FOI can take months to receive. That's what I say with that. It's just like, if you can go through the Health eVet, which you can go, how the hell do I get through it here? About BA Health Veterans Online. Let me see if it's use secure messaging. Does that do it? Because this sends you secure messaging through that, but it's not that one. Get your VA medical records. So if you go here, you will use the VA blue button to manage your records online. So I'll put this link in here. You know what the funny thing is, Annette? Who uses discs? Like, the VA kills me sometimes. Like, who the hell still uses the disc? Most computers now, if you look at any computers, shit, even laptops don't even have a disk drive anymore. So it's like you making it even more difficult on veterans to get that. I'm connected with my healthy. I actually requested my special. Those don't take as long. If you are getting your stuff through there, through like your medical records, it does not take months. Because this is something that you are requesting basically, because that message is gonna go through to your like specific provider. So they'll see it, then they'll start putting it together, and then they'll submit it. Because me, I requested mine a couple of weeks ago, and it was quick. And I got it. I was able to download it. It was a PDF file. It wasn't no damn disc. I would have lost my mind if they tried to send me a damn disc. I was like, bro, you want me to buy a whole nother disc reading thing to just look at my records when you could have just emailed it to me? I was like, the VA could do better. You're wasting that's what I would call waste and abuse right there. Sending people discs at this age. No, send it in a PDF file, send it in a document where the person can just go log in, read it, or use something. They have to update that. That's one of the things that is just like the VA has a lot of antiquated things that, yes, if you want to improve efficiency, you got to fix a couple of those things. Because a disc, look, man, ain't nobody has a disc anymore. Unless you have one of those and it's been sitting around for a while. Even then, you can send it as a PDF. Because everybody has a cell phone. So if you send it as a document, because not everybody has a computer either. So you can send it as a PDF and a person can read it that way. We'll give you your up-to-date medical records. Everyone will give you your C file. You can request it by email. Yeah. So the healthy vet, that's what it basically. Your medical records is easy. Your whole C file, that's all everything they got. So that's why it takes longer. But the same way, like let's say when you were getting out of the service and you requested your medical records to get out, they took a couple of weeks. It was just like, oh, we can get it to you like 4 to 6 weeks. I was like, bro, all you doing is copy, paste, print. It's a lot of pages. My shit was long, but you see what I'm saying? But two different things you're requesting. One is a full file. The other one is just your medical records, but do both. The thing is you got to remember that C file continues to be updated. So by the time you submit for it, if you got more appointments and more stuff, it might not have that. But if it's your medical records, when it comes to increasing or filing an increase, make sure to do that. And Annette, thank you as always for helping with the information. But yeah, that's what it is with this. And then when we go through it, this is basically the explanation of the beginning part of the CFR. Once we get to subpart B, disability ratings, this is where you get all the information for your ratings. This is where the sections start when it comes to it. And it gives you a breakdown. So this is something that as veterans, sit down, take the time, and read this. The more educated you are when it comes to filing your disability claims, the more proper your disability claim will be, the more you will be able to understand how you got your disability rating, even if you already filed the rating and you are getting this after the fact. You will better understand why you got the rating or why it is. Because remember, when you look at your ratings document that shows you what your rating is and stuff like that, it'll tell you on the bottom why you got it. And it'll tell you, oh, your disability rating didn't reach the higher amount because of this reason. So now you know it's just like, oh, I only got 20% instead of 40 because when I got evaluated, they had me at this. And that's where you request your C file to see all the examinations and the CMP exam and all that stuff. You see all that stuff. You see what's written down. And then, hey, that ain't right. I didn't say this. I said that. Or when he evaluated me, he got me at this percent, but he put down this. Stuff like that, that's how you see that. Otherwise, it's a guessing game because if you don't look at your file, you don't know what the hell they put in there. Same way when you were in active duty or even in the reserve. They're going to put stuff in there. It might not be right, but that's what they're going to go off of. You want to make sure it's the correct information so that you are better aware and you are better certified to do what you need to do. But yeah. Disability of the musculoskeletal system, and it breaks it down because remember, the CFR goes over the different disability ratings. Musculoskeletal system, and it gives you the breakdown from 4.40 through 4.73. Organs of special sense, 4.75, 484. Auditory acuity, your hearing. Infectious diseases. Respiratory system, cardiovascular system, the digestive system, genitourinary system, gynecological conditions and disorders of the breast, hematological and lymphatic systems, the skin, endocrine system, neurological conditions and convulsive disorders, mental disorders, and dental and oral conditions. There are over 3,000. The VBA will always give you a look. Yeah, unfortunately. But that's the thing. That's why it's also for veterans to know. It's just like you have to have your proper stuff so that the VBA or whoever's looking at your stuff cannot give you that lower rating, because you know you filled out and have the documentation to show that you deserve this rating, whatever that rating may be. But remember, goes into the C&P exam, how we spoke earlier. If you are pushing through the pain and showing that you have full range of motion, they're going to put that you have full range of motion. It bothers you, yes. It's service connected, yes. 0%. And veterans be losing their shit. Like, how the hell did I get 0%? Well, you're able to move your whole body. You're able to rotate all the degrees. You're able to bend all the degrees. You're able to go to sides all degrees. You're in pain, but not that much pain. It doesn't enable you, like, render you the inability to do certain things. That's what they're going off of. But the musculoskeletal, all these subparts and all this explains all of that, because it gives you the comparisons, identification, and all that. And remember, like I said, there's over 3,000 different disability claims. Over 3,000 of them. Are you going to get everyone? I hope not. If you are too close to getting past 20 ratings, I hate to see it. But if you got it, claim it. A lot of the stuff we don't know what it is. If you go through here, you can see all these different ratings that are there. As you go down, like it explains it. Painful motion, arthritis due to strain, the examination, sacroiliac joint, pelvic bones, amputation rule, dominant hand. Like I was explaining earlier, you have your dominant hand and you have your non-dominant hand. Your dominant hand usually gets a higher percentage because it's your dominant one. That's the one you use mostly as compared to your lower. Then it goes down, and this one it shows these are the criteria: flexion, abduction, internal rotation, flexion of the elbow, forearm pronation, supination for the forearm, the wrist, ulnar deviation, radial deviation. Yes, and I think that covered it. I think at the bottom of this before it changes. In every instance where the schedule does not provide a 0% evaluation for a diagnostic code, a 0% evaluation shall be assigned when the requirements for a compensable evaluation are not met. And yes, if you do have two 0% service-connected issues, you will get paid at the 10% rate. Remember, if you are at 10%, that opens you up to use the VRE program. Because all you need to do is have that 10% honorable discharge and all the regular stuff, but you need 10%. If you have 10%, you can now use the VRE for the 5 different tracks to get assistance and use those resources. You still get the GI Bill. That one's there. That doesn't go anywhere. But 0 2 zeros equals 10. You get that. That's a percentage. That's 10%. That opens you up to the VRE program. You use it that way. You still get a 10% compensation. But remember, just because it's at 0% doesn't mean that's a bad thing. If it's 0% and it's service connected, most of the battle's gone. Because the thing is they can get worse. If you're at 0%, it's not going to get any better. It's going to be stuck at 0. But if these issues worsen, you will be able to file for an increase. But then that's when you go into the Code of Federal Regulations and check to see, do I deserve an increase? Because prosthetic implants are resurfacing. Let's see if we find something else. Lower extremities shows you what that is. Clavicle scapular dislocation, non-union, stuff like that. 10-20. 10-20. When it says major, that means dominant hand. When it says minor, non-dominant hand. And it goes through it. Now it's looking at it. So here, For your forearm, taking the example of the forearm limitation of flexion. When you went, you were able to do the whole 110%. After some time, it's been a couple of years, the pain has worsened, you can't use it as much, and now you only have flexion limited to 90%. Well, that would mean you would get an increase of 20%. You don't have to provide a nexus letter. Why? Because it's already service connected. Now what you have to do is provide the documentation showing that it has worsened from that 110% and you lost that 20 degrees when they evaluate you, which gets you that 20%. Same thing if it went down to 70, 30, 55, 40 or 30, 45, 50 or 40. And this is in case flexion of 45 degrees. If it's your strong hand, 50. If it's your weak hand, 40. So that's the thing that a lot of veterans need to understand, that it's like these instances and this information is free to use. Make sure I'll put this back up here so that y'all have this. Have the site. That is a CFR. If you don't know it, use it, read it, obtain the information you need to better provide yourself a better way forward when it comes to filing your disability claims. There's some stuff in here, if you go through it, I'm not going to say go through line by line everything, but I would suggest doing so. The reason why is there's shit you don't even think of that you can actually claim. There's things you may be diagnosed with or have issues with that fall into criteria. It's just like, you know what? I didn't realize I had this. Let me talk to my doctor about it. Hey, you might get a diagnosis for it. Then boom. Now you can start your filing for that. But remember, you want to have, if you need a service connect something from your time in service, from time outside your service, you need to make sure that you are doing it properly. You need to make sure you have your nexus letter. Make sure you have your personal statement, your witness statement, buddy statements, your evidence, your DBQ. Have everything together and have everything separated when it comes to the disability claim. You should not be submitting every piece of document all in one jumbled thing all randomly. No, put the things together. If you are filing for back issues, you should have one PDF that is just strictly back issues. If you're dealing with ankle issues, specifically ankle issues. And that's also, like I said, having your VA health records in there also. You can highlight those things and you can separate them and just put them with your evidence and stuff like that and just put it as evidence for back issues. Because now that VA rater knows, if I click on this, that it says back issues or upper back or cervical spine or whatever, he knows or she knows this is the evidence for this claim. They don't have to dig through 900 plus pages or however many pages your records is to try to find it. If you got multiple documents and all that stuff and every one of them has a separate thing, I can assure you ain't no VA rater about to try to read all these different files to do it. But if you separate it into one specific file saying, hey, this is my cervical spine issues, evidence, buddy statements, all that stuff, put it all in a PDF, boom. Now when they go to research and go to look into your file, it's, okay, what evidence do they have? Okay, I have the CMP examiner. What evidence does he provide? Oh shit, he actually put it into its own PDF and he even highlighted it. Okay, now I know what I'm looking for. Now it's easier for me to find it. Keep that in mind. Those little things affect you not ending up on the appeals process. And that's the thing I try to keep people from. Is it good when you win after 2 years? Hell yeah. Because you're going to get some nice back pay. But why wait for the damn back pay when you know you can get it sooner? More chances of you spending it on something stupid. You know it's veterans. I got how many thousand? Oh, I'm buying this. Did you really need to buy that? No, because if you would have been getting it on a monthly basis, you definitely wouldn't have put the money into buying whatever you decided I'm going to spend and splurge on. So is it a good thing? Yes, it's a good chunk of change to have, but do we want to get it right the first time? Get it correct the first time? Get our rating and our pay situated? Yes, because that's a big difference when it comes to also like 100% P&T. If you have school age kids and they're getting that benefit, the DEA benefits, the Chapter 35, You don't get back paid for that. So that's once you become 100% P&T. You're not getting back pay. So if your kid been in school for 2 years, your kid is not getting a back pay for those DEA benefits for 2 years. It's only happening from when it happens. So that's why it's important. If you are a veteran that knows, hey, my kids is about to approach that age, you need to get on it. Because the thing is those benefits will be there once you're 100% P&T. But if you're not 100% P&T, you're not getting back pay for these benefits. Compensation for disability is where you will get the back pay. Everything else, they ain't trying to give you no back pay for stuff that you didn't have. When they mess up, it's just like, yeah, you had 100%, so we're paying you back. But it's not going to be retroactive to pay your dependent stuff. So keep that in mind. But that's what we'll do. We'll end it on this note for this week's workshop. We went over the Code of Federal Regulations. We went over the breakdown of just a general policy rating, and we went through the different items. We did not get into specific ratings because there was no need for it. There was no need for when people come in with questions specifically about a certain rating, then we will go and look into it, and we might do that next week or throughout the week if people have specific rating questions. We'll do that. But this one, it was just an overview of what the CFR is, how to use the CFR, how to take advantage of the CFR, to help get yourself an increase, or to help understand where you fall at, or to understand what your percentage is by using the combined ratings table. Or like I said, you can check out my video that explains VA math. This is all there, and it explains everything word for word, and this is what VA raters are going by. This is what the VA goes by, and this is what you need to understand and get to make sure that you are doing the proper diligence, your due diligence to get your rating, get your benefits, and do that. Remember, the disability compensation is not the only benefit. There's tons of other resources and tons of other benefits that you can get through the VA. Disability compensation is one of the major things because it's tax-free compensation. But you can use other programs that assist you when it comes to employment, education, business awareness, even starting a business, because you can use the track for the VRE. But then there's also the veterans business or small business grants and stuff like that that you can go through and take advantage of that also. There's dependents, they have benefits also. Check with your state. Your state is going to have it. If you have a VSO or a Veteran Legion, DAV, BFW, contact them, go and inquire, ask questions. There's nothing wrong with going to ask questions. The same way there's nothing wrong with coming here. I don't need to know you. I don't need to know what you do. I don't need to know what's going on. If you have a question, ask. Because you may be benefiting from this answer, but then also a person that didn't know to ask or didn't know what they were supposed to ask can benefit from it also. So, as always, be good to one another. Take care of one another. Look out for one another. And love one another. And stay marvelous while doing it, y'all. I am Just Cruz. This is the Veteran Awareness Project Workshop. We'll be calling it a day. Make sure to enjoy your week. Hopefully all this cold air and cold weather is done for. I don't believe in that groundhog. He'd be lying. But yeah, take care. Pass this information along. The workshops on Sundays will be available to everyone. All the other shops that we do throughout the week, if it's like a Q&A and stuff like that, those will become member-only videos. So if you want to become a member, it's just $1 a month. You'll pay $12 a year. If this helps you, you're going to be making more than $12 a year for the rest of your life. So that's why I say if you want to become a member, it's $1. There's a $10 rank, but that one is just basically an exclusive where as soon as I upload a video, you get to watch it. There's no wait times. As soon as it's updated, as soon as it's uploaded, you get the information. Everything else, if you are a member of the channel, you get those members only where I will be doing it publicly, but only members will have access to all those videos. The workshops on Sundays, everybody will have access to. So we're just making that change. So, Annette, thank you for being a member. But that's something I want to make sure, like, if it's anything that's impromptu, members get access to this information, because a lot of the times it's just questions and it's just question and answers through different people, so you will have the benefit as a member. Otherwise, if you are part of the public, part of the subscribers, thank you for watching, thank you for being a part of the channel, thank you for supporting the channel, thank you for sacrificing for this country and becoming a veteran and being a veteran. And let's just keep on educating and guiding veterans to the benefits that they've earned. That's all I got. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good rest of your day. I will see y'all next Sunday for sure, and I will probably see y'all throughout the week. Peace.